Hello, Istik.
Istik, back! Touch nothing without knowing its purpose.
Tis I, your favorite hat. I'm Antonio D'Amico, this is Pointy Hat, and welcome to D&D with a Twist. This is the show where I take a D&D thing, or a D&D video game adjacent thing. I look at it for a while, wonder why it looks like that. I tell you everything you need to know about it, and then I give it a funky, fresh twist that you can use in your own games for 100% certified Pointy Hat organic grade free. So I've been playing Baldur's Gate 3 a normal amount.
I have a lot on my mind and, well, in it. Still alive, so that's progress. I bet that'll fit my pack.
Don't tell anybody I live like this. And I keep running into these ugly ass guys. And I bet a bunch of you were just as lost as to what their deal was as I was. So today we're gonna talk about it. So when I think of Gith, I think of...
I suffer from ugly syndrome, just like many of you.
Gith are the race for people that wish they were playing Star Wars instead of D&D, and the blind, because they can tell what the Gith look like. Gith are D&D's spacefaring race. They are intrinsically connected with a lot of the sci-fi content in this little fantasy game of ours, from their culture to their history to their face. Normally, this is the part where I tell you that whatever I'm covering has little to no lore, but this is sure not the case here. The Gith have a lot of lore. Oh god, do they have a lot of lore. So let's get appearance out of the way before we deep dive into what these guys are all about. And also, do not worry, I'm not showing anything from Baldur's Gate 3 that isn't past like the first hour of gameplay. There's a couple of clips from later on, but just Act 1. Nothing from Act 2 and onwards in the video. And what I show has no context. You're safe here, no spoilies, don't worry. Okay, let's judge these guys' outfits.
Now it's time for the judges' critiques.
Appearance-wise, Gith are... what's the word? Yeah, I think the technical term is ugly.
Ugly.
Before we get super deep into the video, let's lay down the bias that your humble hat brings with him. I said this before in my Mind Flayer video, watch it or else, not to toot my own horn, but the fact that that video came out a whole year before Baldur's Gate 3 is, you know, pretty wild based on the contents of it. I don't want to say because no spoilers, but you'll see. Anyway, like I said, I'm someone that cares a lot about the aesthetic of whatever fantasy race I'm playing or using in my campaigns as a DM. And oh god, do the Gith not do it for me. I guess beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and no beauty found in my eyes when I look at these guys. Gith are said to be particularly emaciated looking, although it's not stated in the text if they just come like that or if they are hoarding all the fantasy Ozempic.
I would like to start a group chat with the girls only. I would like to call it the Skinny Queens.
Their skin has a lovely jaundiced look to it. They got that liver failure glow. Their faces are described as having deep-set eyes, the weirdest possible ears in existence, and what is kindly described as flattened noses. I would go for Nightmare Batpug from Hell, but you know, to each their own. I found absolutely no writing on this, but they also have these like warts, rough spots of darkened skin around their eyes and body. Lovely. Oh, and they also lay eggs. And thanks to Baldur's Gate 3, we know that their anatomy down there is very human. So that's a fun vision to have. Thanks for that, Larian. So yeah, in my book, the Gith are not winning any beauty contest anytime soon. And apparently not even in the game they are front and center in. But hold on, what's that tacked on at the end of the word Gith? Well, that's just one of the Gith. Let's get into that tasty lore, because it's the reason these guys are actually interesting. But since we're talking fantasy mixed with sci-fi, what if we took a detour and talked about vehicles? Imagine mixing the thrill of D&D combat with a sort of arcanepunk racing vibe. Chase scenes, competitive racing, the high-octane melodrama of competition. Sounds dope, doesn't it? If the Gith mix sci-fi with fantasy in the context of D&D, why not mix other things with D&D? Well, the guys at Only Crit are doing just that with Gilman's Guide to Speed, and they've sponsored me to tell you all about it. The founders of Only Crit were friends since primary school, playing with sticks as broadswords in the frigid woods of the cold waste of northern Vancouver, in the kingdom of Canada. I'm a hot climate hat, but to each their own. They worked in video games, just like me, twins, and then Tabletop found them, and now they found you, and are ready to fill your games with crits. And other things. These guys have been working hard, bringing to completion tons of products like books and dice collabs with creators. And now it's time for Gwilman's. Gwilman's Guide to Speed is a sourcebook that gives you everything you need to bring the high adrenaline feeling of racing to your table. The book boasts a complete set of rules for vehicle creation, which sounds insane. I want to make a wacky races car in D&D. but also more than 30 pre-made vehicles, racing rules for actual competitive racing, a whole bunch of new spells, new races, 4 new classes, and 12 subclasses. This bad boy can fit just about everything in it. So if that sounds fun, the link in the Kickstarter is in the description of this very video, and it's live right now. They're working towards the 60k goal, legendary racers, but they've unlocked a ton more, so go check it out. So, funny story, we don't actually know where the Gith come from because their history has been lost even to themselves. The reason for this is, you guessed it, yep, it's this again, it's D&D lore, so I guess they were forced at gunpoint to do this with like 70% of their catalog. From the very beginning of their recorded history, the Gith were, you know about YouTube and saying bad words, we're gonna use this channel's favorite euphemism, interns. You know, the type of internship where you can't leave and you do work for free and belong to somebody else. The Gith formed the bulk of the Mind Flayer's interns during the Great Mind Flayer Empire that basically encompassed everything. Mind Flayers ruled basically all the inner planes, the ones where normal people live, from the astral plane. The astral plane is D&D's version of space. In this empire, Gith were forced into internship to such an extent that their origins were lost to history completely. The reason the Gith look like that might actually be because of their internship. There are theories that the Gith actually started as humans from a very long time ago, but Mind Flayers twisted them into what we know today through selective breeding, just like humans did to pugs. Except Mind Flayers didn't only use selective breeding and tasty treats, but also their powerful psionic abilities. Psionic is telekinesis. We don't have time to get into it. Watch the Mind Flayer to know more if you don't know what that is. Moving on. Now, like all D&D internships, and like most internships in the real world, this was considered to be generally a very bad, not good deal for the Gith, which is why they constantly rebelled against Mind Flayers, and that worked out for them about as bad as you would expect. But that was until some of them started to develop their own psionic abilities and general resistance to the Mind Flayer's powers. Using their newfound psionic gifts, the Gith struck back against their Mind Flayer oppressors and actually succeeded. Just wiped the floor with them utterly. Literally toppled the biggest empire in all of D&D history in like less than a year. They did so under the rule of one specific Gith that orchestrated the revolt and rallied the Gith under her command, and her name was Gith. That's where the Gith race got their name. Neat. Gith led the Gith to Githtory, and that's the story. The Gith dealt a crushing blow to the Mind Flayer Empire, decimating their population and putting them well on their way to extinction. And then she turned around, revealing the Uno-reverse card in her hand, and said, let's do the exact same thing the Squid guys were doing to us, to everyone else. Surprisingly, many Gith were super down with this face-heel turn from their leader, but many also weren't. Among them was, oh god, these fantasy names. Zerthamon. That's what I'm going with. That's my guess. Zerthamon, paragon of reason, told Gith with facts and logic to maybe not do that.
Daddy, chill.
And that's how civil war started among the followers of these two, and the remaining Mind Flayers had enough time to scurry away to their little hidey holes in the Underdark. And now we still have to deal with them. Thanks, you two. Thanks for that. These irreconcilable differences between those that sided with Gith and those that had two brain cells to rub together is what created the split in the race of the Gith. The ones that sided with Zerthamon and opposed Gith were called Githzerai, which literally means those who spurn Gith. And the children of Gith, those that sided with her, were called the Githyanki? Civil War. Githyanki. Curious. The split between the two is more ideological than biological, and yet these two are treated as their own distinct races. So let's take a closer look at them. First off, the Yankees.
Can you see?
The Yankees, true to their American-inspired namesake, are extremely militaristic. That's their whole thing. Basically, every Githyanki that actually participates in Githyanki society is in some way a soldier. Following the fight between Gith and Zerthamon, the Githyanki and their leader went to the astral plane and upcycled the old Mind Flayer colonies into their new homes, becoming expert DIYers. There's no way I'm getting into what even is the astral plane exactly, but all you need to know for now is that it's, like I said, D&D's version of space, or rather one of D&D's versions of space. The astral plane is particularly weird in that it messes heavily with time, making it so that people in the astral plane just do not age at all and don't need food or drink.
Well, I'm not drinking water this month, thank you so much.
This is probably why farmers are treated so poorly in Githyanki's caste society, because D&D loves caste-based societies almost as much as they love interns. All Githyanki castes are basically in service of the biggest one, the military caste. Githyanki military is structured in increments of 10. Strap in, because I'm about to throw at you a whole bunch of made-up sci-fi fantasy words. Don't worry, I'm cringing harder when I'm saying these than when you are hearing them. A group of 10 Githyanki warriors is led by a Sarth, 10 Sarths are led by a Kithrak. 10 Kithraks are led by a Supreme Commander. Got that? No? Me neither. Githyanki Knights, I like that word, I know what that means, also belong to the military caste, although they're separate from the actual military hierarchy, since they're basically acting like superheroes in the Githyanki society. They are able to meld their psionic abilities with their hit stuff real good swordplay. They wear these honestly garish and ugly silver armor with like these big red rubies on them and wield these equally tacky but actually useful silver swords that allow them to do both physical and mental damage. Since Githyanki society is so based on merit and honor and individual Githyanki striving to go up in ranks, knights are basically there to give them something to work towards. The other two castes are less flashy. They are the builders, who craft weapons and ships and buildings for the military, and they are the farmers, who make food grow in the astral plane where nothing grows because time kind of gives up on doing its job there. But the Giths still need to eat when they leave the astral plane, so that's why they're there. As far as caste-based societies go though, the Githyankis is not the worst. They are a very meritocratic society, so you can move caste and you can move up in rank if you work hard enough. Because of the whole reproduce from eggs thing that Githyanki do, unfortunately, Githyanki don't really form families and generally live either alone or with roommates.
And they were roommates.
Never really making like households, as they are too focused on going up in ranks of whatever caste they're in. They are big on merit and serving their society as much as they can, because once again, they all work like they are in the military 24/7.
You're disrespecting a future US Army soldier.
This weird obsession with military is obviously because they are, well, very aggressive. That's the whole reason why these two guys split. Githyanki are intergalactic raiders. They raid either because they live in the astral plane, so they basically just plop down on an unsuspecting world and take whatever they need from it. The other reason for the Githyanki to pay a housewarming/raiding visit to your town is mind flayers. Surprisingly, the Githyanki have not forgotten the whole reason why they rebel. Githyanki still hate those that put them in internships and are committed to hunting them down forever. They regrettably don't really care what happens to the world where the mind flayers are currently though, so collateral damage is a-okay for them. They'll just show up wherever they smell a squid and start blasting. How do they do that? Well, with astral ships, of course. These are so sick. They look like either the ships from Treasure Planet with those cool sci-fi old sailboat sails, or like weird fish boats? Boats that look like fish? Anyway, there are like a bunch of these. There is the astral skiffs that are like small and can carry like a dozen people. Oh, yeah. They also ride dragons. Can I go one video without talking about them? You have impossibly cool Treasure Planet ships and you give these guys dragons? Whatever, I hate Dragon-free channel, I'm not talking about them. Anyway, you might think that they do the whole raiding thing for fun. And I mean, I'm sure that they are enjoying themselves. But like anything the Githyanki do, it's to gain more honor and merit, but also to service their queen, Vlaakith. Or more specifically, Vlaakith Klvi, also known as Vlaakith 157. Vlaakith 157 is the current ruler of the Githyanki. There have been 156 Vlaakith before her, but this one has been in power for a minute, and by a minute, I mean a couple of a dozen of many centuries. And that's because she's a lich. And even if she's dead, they still felt the need to dress her like this. Great. If you watch this channel, you know we love liches around here. I make a whole series about making new ones, and this Githyanki one is a fun one. She's certifiably gone insane after I don't know how many centuries of ruling, and is now trying to become a god. An actual undead maniac in charge of a large empire of telekinetic raiders. Nice. The reason why she's called Vlaakith 157 and not Barbara, or Leslie, or Susan, or whatever name she actually had, is because the first Vlaakith was chosen by Gith herself to succeed her. After Gith and Zerthiman couldn't fit into their get-along shirt, Gith's dramatic ass went all the way to hell to ask for the help of... Okay, whatever, fine, I'll talk about dragons, but I'll keep it short. Gith asked for Tiamat's help. Tiamat is the goddess of bad dragon. No, stop it, no. Gith gave herself as a sacrifice to Tiamat, and in return, Tiamat allowed Gith's children, the Githyanki, to ride her red dragons. And that's why they have both ships and dragons, and also why we can't have nice things. All because of Gith's sacrifice. Or was it? The original Vlaakith was the one that brokered this deal. But there are those that said that Vlaakith set up a trap for Gith, and that Gith never made Vlaakith her official successor at all. The drama, the intrigue. Anyway, Vlaakith died and like 150 something replacements have come after, so ultimately, who cares? Githyanki have what can be called an absolute devotion for their Lich Queen Vlaakith. They enroll in the military because they want the honor and the merit, but also to serve their queen, and hopefully one day become knights, who are basically the most well-regarded members of Githyanki society and the equivalent of paladins to the Lich Queen. And that's it. That's a whole lot of lore. And oh god, we still gotta talk about abilities. And the Githzerai. Okay, I'll make it quick. Lightning round. Creature type, ugly. Size, not friend size. Speed, normal. Okay, on through the actual interesting ones. Astral knowledge. Through the power of tarot and aesthetic astral maps, you learn things. You get a proficiency in a skill and a proficiency with a weapon or tool of your choice. And you can change it at the end of every long rest. I feel like people don't realize how good this ability is. It's amazing. Psychic resilience. It's what it says on the tin. You are resistant to psychic. This goes with the lore of the Gith developing this and using it to topple the Mindflayer Empire. Psychic damage is rare, but all monsters that use it are high-level baddies, so it can be clutch, but only if you play at higher levels. And finally, the big one, Githyanki Psionics. Githyanki get invisible mage hand, so you can pretend to be telekinetic. But also you get the jump spell and the Misty Step spell at level 3. You can only use them once before you finish a long rest, but Misty Step is like one of the best spells in the game. Perfect for positioning yourself. Amazing for both martial and casters. And now that we're done with the Yankees, time to look at the Githzerai. These guys are not on Baldur's Gate 3, so you might not have heard of them at all. In which case, let's see what their deal is. So as I said, when Gith pulled her face heel turn and decided she was going to become the raiding queen of the Gith, and also literally all that the Gith fought against, Zerthimund said nah to that, and then they both started a civil war. So the key thing to keep in mind here is that Githyanki and Githzerai are the same race biologically, and the split is an ideological split. But in terms of mechanics, they do get different racial abilities. So they are a different race in D&D mechanics, but they're not a different race in D&D lore. Confusing? Yes. There's overall less on the Githzerai than there is for their northern counterparts, so this should be quicker. After the split, Zerthimund took his anti-bullying brigade to Limbo, where they could concentrate on their no-bullying efforts. Limbo is, yes, yet another version of space in D&D, but this is chaotic space, so it's different. It's basically just a swirling madness of different elements that constantly shift from one state to another without any rules. A perfect vacation destination. The Githzerai made this crack house of a plane a crack home by concentrating real hard and literally creating order out of chaos with the power of their massive wrinkly brains. And that should tell you the gist about them. Githzerai are ascetic monks. No, not aesthetic, ascetic. Because of the plane they chose to inhabit after the Civil War, and because of their controversial stance of, maybe we shouldn't become the very thing that put us in mind control internship for centuries, the Githzerai have chosen to follow the teachings of Zerthimund and embrace the peace, tranquility, and boringness of monastic life.
No fighting!
Their society is often structured around monasteries where Githzerai monks train their psionic powers to greater degrees of control. If the Githyanki are martial and militaristic, using their psionic powers to make them better at combat, the Githzerai use them to bring order to chaos and, I don't know, unlock their third nostril of mystical power and whatever. Compared to the Githyanki's gaudy, tawdry, tacky, Vivarachi, ruby-encrusted early 2000s tribal tattoo aesthetic, Githzerai are more like Eastern Asia coded? As I said, they're often monks, and not the jolly, donut haircut, beer brewing kind, but the wuxia movie long beard and mustache flowy robes kind. They train in martial arts, they forego indulgences such as dressing nice, they levitate around while sitting in the lotus pose, you know, all that stuff.
Namaste, Chaturanga Dandasana.
Becoming the masters of the eat, pray, love lifestyle has not stopped them, however, from hunting down and doing a tiny bit of a genocide on mind flayers. Githzerai still hunt illithits just as much as Githyanki do. Githyanki Doodle. And why did they pick that name? Anyway, the only time Githyanki and Githzerai will not shank each other on sight is when they run into each other while trying to shank a mind flayer. It also hasn't stopped them from erecting a psionic undying god king as their leader. Yep, these guys also have an undying king too. But this one has actually managed to become basically a demigod. Zerith Manir Agith. My god, why would they do this to me? That guy is the successor of Zerthimund, and he has managed to actually attain immortality by unclear means. Not lichdom, like Blackith. It seems like he just became that way by, I don't know, reaching the D&D version of Nirvana. He's completely immobile forever and doesn't talk or open his eyes, but his psionic powers are so insanely strong that he's able to interact with his followers and basically everybody else from any plane from the comfort of his own sarcophagus. Zerith Manigar... Whatever, I'm not putting myself through that again. Michael Jackson Magic Man doesn't seem as evil as Blackith 157. He doesn't seem evil at all. He just chills in the middle of the city. He basically holds together in limbo through the force of his raw will and leads the Githzerai to do yoga a lot and hunt mind flayers and stop the Githyanki from existing. But you gotta be at least a little suspicious of anyone that is literally an undying god king to his people. Looking at you, Blackith, but at least this guy managed to do it. Something that the Githzerai didn't manage to do, funnily enough, is get dragons. The Githzerai got real jealous of the Githyanki's lizards and tried to tame chaos dragons. What the f is a chaos dragon? Oh my god, it's the exact same thing. It's a red dragon. It looks the same. All of these look the same. Why do we need 17 of them? I hate dragons! Anyway, they failed miserably at taming them, so we don't gotta talk about it. All in all, the Githzerai are clearly the ones in the right in the Gith conflict. They are level-headed, orderly, non-violent, and also boring. They are boring. There is a reason why these guys don't appear in Baldur's Gate 3. The Githyanki, with their insane militaristic society and constant ambition and messy history of devotion to mortals as gods and lich queens vying for power, are messier and flawed and inherently more interesting than no fun allowed Mr. Monk over there. Well-adjusted doesn't often make for fun storytelling opportunities, and while Githzerai are certainly much more well-adjusted than the Githyanki, we can't help to find the messy b****s who love drama more compelling as a concept. And as I explained before, these guys are mechanically a different race than the Githyanki, which means they get their own abilities. Oh god. Okay, once again, let's get through these quick. Lightning round. Creature type, speed, size, exact same as Githyanki. Moving on. Psychic resilience. Yep, this one is also the same. Mental discipline. A new one. You get advantage on saving throws to avoid being charmed or frightened. This is straight up worse than astral knowledge, but I guess good if you don't have a paladin with an aura in your party. It's fine. Githzerai psionics. Here's the difference. These guys also get mage hand for magic tricks, but at 3rd level they get shield and detect thoughts. Okay, both of these are really good choices. Whether the Githyanki jump and Misty Step is better than this basically depends on your build. I would say that Githzerai psionic are slightly more usable by more builds, because who doesn't want a +5 to AC for a turn and to read the surface thoughts of NPCs? But Misty Step is, once again, a really good spell. So pick your favorite, I guess. And that's it. That's the massive lore dump of the Gith. Now you get them. Congrats! Okay, so if you're new here, at the end of the videos, I always give something fun that you can add to your game related to the topic. In videos about classes, I give you a subclass. In videos about monsters, I give you a monster. In videos about D&D races, I give you sub-races. Some exceptions do apply. I sometimes go for something different, but that's the gist. So this video should give you a Gith sub-race, right? Well, about that, these guys are copyrighted. Oh boy, are they not up for grabs for creators like me. We can't make specifically Gith content because the Gith as a concept are a Wizards of the Coast original and we can't touch that. But you know what isn't a Wizards of the Coast original? Psychic abilities. All Gith are born with them, and they train very hard to master them. This is an extremely common plot in basically anything that involves having psychic powers. They awaken either at birth or adolescence, and the character has to train to harness them and control them. You know what I'm talking about? Your Matildas, your Jean Greys, your That's So Ravens. Hear me out. What if you could add that to any D&D character? It's basically the total opposite of my psionic transformation rules. Once again, watch that Mind Flayer video, link in the description. These are basically meant as two sides of the same coin. In that, you were infested by something that gave you psionic abilities, and it started off extremely easy to control, but the more you gave in, the more you used them, the more powerful the thing that was giving you psionic powers became until you couldn't control it anymore. What if this one is the opposite? You are born or otherwise develop psionic powers, but you have to train to control them. In the beginning, it's extremely hard for you to even lift a fork a couple of inches off from the table. But as you hone your abilities, you become more and more adept at controlling and harnessing your psionics. That sounds cool. And guess what? It's there in the description of this very video. And don't worry, we have a sale going on right now, so the psionic training rules are up for grabs for 100% off. That's right, it's free! Like all of my content. Enjoy! Did Baldur's Gate 3 wreck your sleep and work schedule and now you're finished and want to try the game it's actually based on? Are you already a D&D nerd and have always wanted to play a spooky child with psychic powers? Was Elfen Lied a formative but also mildly traumatic experience for you because you watched it at 13 when you were definitely not ready for it, and also it's just a bad show all around, but anime was not as widespread in the West as it is right now and you would watch literally anything with big eyes in it? This is the twist for you. So go out there, put on a weird helmet to measure your psychic waves or whatever, hide your powers from government agencies, and become Raven. And that's it. That's the video on Gith, another lore-heavy one. I haven't done one like this in a minute, where most of the video is actually explaining the D&D concept, but Gith are obscure enough, even for D&D nerds, that I felt it was just the best video to make for this all around. I really struggled to come up with a twist for this one because of the copyright mess, but I think the psionic training rules are actually really cool, like a cool twist for players to use. It's such a media trope that we're all so familiar with, and it goes so well with the psionic transformation rules of the Mind Flayer video. Funnily enough, It's kind of similar to the werewolf rules I also made for the werewolf video. I just love that kind of thing that allows you to work on something for basically the whole campaign, just chipping away at it little by little every time you long rest or every time you have like downtime until you manage to control it. It feels so earned and such a good use of downtime in general. Anyway, enough rambling. I'm off to play Baldur's Gate again. More. It has consumed me completely. Expect probably more content inspired by it. I have some ideas bouncing around in my head. Alright, enough rambling. Take breaks while gaming. Rest your eyes. You can do some real damage from staring at a screen for that long. Rest your hands too. We don't want any carpal tunnel business. Take it from me. I guess don't, because I don't have hands, because I'm a hat. Okay, enough. Bye-bye. Bye. Love you. Bye. Mwah.